On your marks, get set, soundbite time. This is going to be a good episode for soundbites, people, so pay attention. Transgender Netflix workers plan walkout over Dave Chappelle controversy. We're also going to bring this story into the same because that has happened now. Chappelle special spurs Netflix walkout. So they said they're going to do it, and they did it. Welcome back, everybody, to the show. This is a show called Shh, It Matters, where we just take a look at the news and we unpack it. We also give our opinions, and no doubt, absolutely no doubt, this will be a good episode for Soundbites, and it will offend people, which is too bad and sad. Here we go.
Wait. Welcome to today's main event. Weighing in at 100 and Matt Logan.
Hanging out with me is,
here we go, Craig Newglen. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram and at Shhh.
The business issues caused by a controversial Dave Chappelle comedy special are apparently anything but funny. Transgender Netflix employees are planning on October 20th, which was just 2 days ago, a walkout from the streaming service in response to a bevy of ongoing issues that all connect back to 48-year-old Chappelle's The Closer, according to The Verge. The most prominent of the problems was the suspension of a trans senior software engineer, Tara Field, who slammed Chappelle for his humor about trans people in a viral Twitter thread. A source told the Post that Field was suspended not for the tweets, but instead, get ready for it, intruding along with two others into executives-only meeting.
She broke into a conference room that she wasn't supposed to be in.
While there's a meeting going on, but yet says that she was suspended because of the tweet. Mm-hmm. A bunch of hyperbolic nonsense. Field has since been reinstated after finding there was no ill intent in her attendance, she posted. I'm going to take a few days off to decompress and try to figure out where I'm at. At the very least, I feel vindicated, Field tweeted. Despite that, Netflix Trans Employee Resource Group is still moving forward with a planned walkout next week, according to The Verge, which obtained their internal memo. Trans Lives Matter, Trans Rights Matter, and as an organization, Netflix has continually failed to show deep care in our mission to entertain the world by repeatedly releasing content that harms the trans community and continually failing to create content that represents and uplifts trans content. We can and must do better, a leader of the movement reportedly wrote. Now here's the next article. Let's get into that, and we're going to have some fun opinions to share. So Chappelle special spurs Netflix walkout. Trans Lives Matter. The AP out of Los Angeles, Netflix employees who walked out on Wednesday in protest of Dave Chappelle's special and its anti-transgender comments were joined by allies who chanted Trans Lives Matter, getting pushback from counter-protesters who also showed up. A pre-noon rally at a Netflix office studio complex drew about 100 people, most on the side of an estimated 30 workers on the streaming giant that joined in afterward. Some were willing to identify themselves as Netflix employees, but all declined to provide their names. So anyway, they did it. It happened. They walked out. There was another article that they said there was going to be 1,000 people. There was not 1,000 people. What do you think?
Dave Chappelle is an entertainer, and he's a comedian. And comedians tend to, if you look hard enough, they will offend everybody. It's a show. I was never a huge Dave Chappelle fan. I remember when he had the Chappelle show and watched it once in a while, but like he's a funny guy, but whatever. I just wasn't drawn to him. All of this controversy drew me to this show, and I'm like, I have got to see what this is all about. And I watched it kind of critically, like, okay, I'm looking to be offended if I wanted to be offended. Watch the show, and if anything, he is defending and advocating for the trans community. His story that carries through that show, and his friend that wanted to be a comedian who is trans, that he had open for him, and she would have never, ever have had that opportunity, because he says she bombed, absolutely bombed. But he continued to bring her on, and he made, that was like a make-a-wish for that trans friend of his. He's not slamming trans people.
But let me put this in there. That trans person was then slammed by the trans community as being friends with Dave Chappelle, and that trans person jumped off a building and killed herself.
Yes, because
of
she was trying to be canceled by her own, quote, community.
Yes. So what does that say about any community at all?
Right. Aren't we supposed to accept everybody for what
they are? Literally doing the thing that they are saying they're fighting against. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean just the trans community. I mean any community that does those things, that tries to cancel anybody, that won't sit down and listen, or they're trying to everybody's just trying to kind of do their thing, right? And they're trying to be semi left alone. But when you're screaming like this, when you're canceling people as big as Dave Chappelle, it's going to create some issues in a lot of communities. And I think that what we have to get back to, this people is called a remote. It has a power button right here. You don't like what you see, shut it off.
Phones have that same option.
Yep. And
media.
Even in his special The Closer, Dave Chappelle says to somebody that came up to him, he's like, I didn't come and do my comedy in front of you after following you around all day. You saw my comedy because you went and sought it. You went and found it.
You looked for it.
Yes, and if you don't like it, don't go seek it. Don't watch it. And I do that all the time. There's a lot of things I don't like, and I don't watch it. I don't go to restaurants that I don't like, or I don't go to movies I don't like. I don't all the time.
Right. It's personal choice.
Yes, which is what they're saying they want to have, and they're not giving it to anybody else.
Right. And they are this push or movement to cancel him is making him millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Millions of dollars. He would have never gotten this exposure if they didn't try to cancel him. Mm-hmm. Ever.
And in the special, The Closer, he didn't go into the details, but he did talk about him leaving that $50 million deal on the table and walking away. Yeah. And to me, that says a lot. I've had to do the same. Not $50 million, but
I have a couple zeros off of that one.
It's a couple.
Yeah.
But I've had to do things out of. I've had to do things that I didn't agree with, that I didn't align with, that would have changed my narrative. It would have changed what I'm trying to talk about, and they're trying to dictate the narrative rather than let somebody actually do what they think is best and what their philosophy is. Mm-hmm. And so I have a lot of respect for that, especially $50 million. Kylie Irving, however you say his name, I can't remember, the basketball player with the vaccination thing, same thing. They figured that this could cost him up to $100 million over the lifetime of his career. And he's saying, no, And the list can go on and on. The problem with canceling somebody is that it never stops.
No.
Ever.
And look who's, I saw an article this morning. Joe Rogan is friends with Dave Chappelle, and he's been defending him. Jon Stewart, who, from my opinion, seems to be fairly progressive, is defending Dave Chappelle. Like, they're friends, and they've exchanged conversations about this. And Jon Stewart's like, this is absolutely ridiculous. So it's nice to see that Dave is getting support from people in Hollywood. Let's say it's not mainstream Hollywood, but
in show business.
In show business, yes. I mean, Jon Stewart's kind of a big name. Agree with him or not, like him or not. He's a big name. I don't think he's as big as what he used to be, but like, it's nice. It's refreshing to see other people come out and defend Dave Chappelle. I mean, if you want to be offended, yes, the world changes, but Andrew Dice Clay, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, pretty offensive guys.
Yeah.
But it was a show. It was a routine. They were providing entertainment for people. And if you didn't like it, you could just turn the TV off or don't go to the show. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with Dave Chappelle. If you don't like it, don't watch it. He's not hurting anybody, unlike the cancel culture, who their actions caused Dave's friend to jump off a building.
Mm-hmm. And that's, to me, I look at that and I see that and I say, okay, so how many others are there that don't get that kind of publicity?
Absolutely.
That literally they're doing the thing, they're pushing people to a point of not feeling worthy of living in their own community.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing that thing to their own community that they're trying to say that others are doing to them.
Preaching acceptance, as long as you agree with how we are preaching it.
Yeah, you live your life according to how we want you to live your life.
Right.
That's, and if you want to talk about persecution and whatever else, you can literally trace back Christianity as the most persecuted of a people, of a tribe, or whatever throughout history. And so, everybody's trying to one up the victim category here and trying to say they're the most oppressed, and which is just nonsense. It's just nonsense.
Yeah. Just be a productive member of society. Mm-hmm. Live your life. Let others live their lives, as long as they don't hurt other people, and don't hurt other people. And I'm sorry if you get your feelings hurt. You might have to toughen up your skin a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a tough world out there, and I was canceled last year, and it was complete BS. It was those sound bites taken out of context, and they were just gobbled up by a group of people and spread, and it was complete BS what was done. And that it's the same thing that's happening to Chappelle. They're trying to make something out of nothing. It's sad that people have enough free time or spite to do that, because you don't agree with me or they don't agree with Dave Chappelle. It was comedy. It's a skit. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I wish that anybody that's trying to cancel someone, I don't care if it's whatever to whoever, why ever, you have to take a step back and you have to say and look around, make sure your head's on a swivel, look around, look in the mirror. How is this going to affect people? Is this something that I'm just doing selfishly, or is this a legitimate cause? Is there legitimate harm? I mean,
legitimate harm.
Legitimate harm. Like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And okay, words hurt. I get it. Mm-hmm. But should they? Okay,
only if you let it.
sometimes,
Only
yeah,
if you let it.
sometimes, because sometimes the words are intended to lead to physical harm, and that's not good. But yeah, toughen up your skin a little bit.
And
Life's hard,
life is
and
hard.
a good day.
Yeah. And I'll end it with this is where are all these protests and walkouts when Netflix had cuties on? If you're gonna try to exploit a minority, I think it's pretty inappropriate that you have underage children being used like that.
Well,
Or
you could say, yeah, you could say that about most of Hollywood, and I mean, there's a lot of things that have changed over the years, but
that's a pretty inappropriate show.
for sure. So then you have a choice again of do you watch it or not watch it?
I haven't watched it.
You know, and so
from what I heard, I didn't need to watch it.
so there's I have watched it, and I mean, just because of a podcast, and I think that there's definitely it should not have been done, but there is also something to it. I think this has been quite a while ago, but I think the larger agenda was not to do what it turned out to be. And so, I mean, there was, abusive parents and some things in there, and I think that's kind of how it was more intended to say, these young ladies are making these decisions because they're in a bad spot, and they're not getting proper parenting and some of that. It didn't. I think that was probably the main intent of it, but it certainly didn't turn
come
out
across
that way.
Yeah.
And so again, we have to make the decision. But yes, kids, if they're so that movie, I don't think the kids were in any other put in any weird situation than any other movie that kids were put into. I mean, that you see a lot in things. So I don't think it was in respect of over a line of where any other like Poltergeist or, I mean, this is long, even more recent ones like The Conjuring 3 and the kid that was in there and stuff and real life events. So I think that you have to look at each thing. I don't think you should cancel anything unless you're harming someone that's underage, period. Right. That should never happen. I'll literally fight somebody on that one. But otherwise, I think you have to be so careful with cancel culture because we don't learn then you get exactly what they're trying to fight against. You get one group controlling everything. That's what cancel culture creates. One group will take over. Period. That's dangerous.
Seems like it did last year.
I don't disagree with that. And that's why you can kind of get away with what we're getting away with on a lot of cases like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, make sure you grab these clips out of context and hammer the like button, hammer the share button, hammer out a comment. Actually, let me weigh in this. I learned quite a while ago, and I was really upset the first time that it happened, but I learned quite a while ago that people are going to do what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. And they're going to take out of context what they're going to take out of context, and I will never stop that. All I can do is just do the best I can to educate myself, to look around at what's going on. Is this real? Is that real? What have I witnessed? What have I not witnessed? And make the decision from there. And let them take their sound bites and do all that kind of stuff, and let's ride it out.
And if people are going to fall for it and believe it, then that's on them for not doing their own research and just hook, line, and sinker.
Exactly.
Sucked in. Yep.
See you next time. Thanks for joining us.